Sadly, to our own detriment, many of our people have been misled to believe that our plight is connected to the Bible and that our collective condition is caused by the Willie Lynch slave syndrome. I sincerely question the intelligence of any one of our people who actually believes that a Bible written by history's proven most ungodliest group and that was brutally beaten into the blood-soaked minds of our enslaved ancestors by their ungodly enslavers contained the true words of God that will now ridiculously set us free. That's an idiotic belief. I also question the intelligence of any of our people who believes that we're being controlled by a silly slave syndrome myth. That silly myth presents what would in fact be the least plausible scenario used for controlling generations of millions of people. It's simply not how true brainwashing is achieved. Absolutely not at all. Both of these noted premises are falsehoods that are being deliberately used to distract us from learning the truth of our plight and condition. Because white oppressive forces realizes that as long as they keep our understandings of our plight and conditions flawed, then all of our liberating remedies and strategies that stems from those flawed understandings will also be flawed. That's correct. Believing in the Bible and believing in Willie Lynch, they actually keeps us mentally enslaved to the benefit of the system of white supremacy, because they distract us from learning the truth of our plight and condition that are required in order to develop the proper counter strategies necessary to liberate ourselves. We must function based on what is true. This is why those of us who know the truth must teach. African proverb. The truth of our plight and condition are directly connected to our oppressors' monopoly over what we believe. They've transformed this fact into their greatest weapon used for controlling us and subjugating us. They keep us believing in falsehoods that keeps us mentally enslaved. And those black people who don't critically think never notices their mental change. The core problem now facing black people today is the fact that most of us are totally unaware of how white oppressive forces exploits their monopoly over the information that we receive to manipulate us to think in ways that are against our own self-interest and instead in ways that serve the interests of their white society. Regardless of how intelligent people are, if it's possible to control the input of information that a targeted population receives, it's entirely possible to control what they will believe. Likewise, the white society exploits its monopoly over the input of information that black people receive by feeding us disinformation that are deliberately designed to make us think in ways that are against our own interests and that instead serves the interests of their white society. They program our minds through media subliminal messages. Subliminal messages refers to the practice of conveying messages that are processed by the mind without the conscious mind's awareness. Subliminal messages is a way to communicate a specific idea or in such a way that it bypasses the conscious mind and it is aimed directly towards the subconscious mind. In the simplest term, it's an attempt to embed hidden messages and ideas into the minds of a targeted population without them realizing it. Case, point, and proof. The reason why white propagandists overemphasizes and exaggerates the issue of black on black crime is not because they care about us. It's because doing so is deliberately designed to subliminally embed the message into our subconscious mind that it is we who are now our worst enemies. This makes us fear each other and makes us believe that we therefore need whites to govern over our lives. That's why they inundate us with black on black crime so much. The reason why they tell us that all study results favor themselves over us is because doing so is deliberately designed to subliminally embed the message into our subconscious minds that whites are inherently superior to blacks. This causes many black people to be subservient towards whites. The reason why they so negatively distort the image of Africa is because doing so embeds a subliminal message into our subconscious mind that we came from nothing, and therefore we are inherently lesser than the white society. The negatively distorted depiction of Africa also makes many of us feel that the white society's enslavement of our ancestors ultimately benefited us. This false embedded belief makes many of us feel indebted to the white society for having brutally enslaved our ancestors. Through their monopoly over information, they manipulate our minds to think in ways that benefit themselves. The reason why they keep us believing the fraudulent worst narratives about ourselves is because doing so demoralizes us, divides us, creates black self-loathing, and it shifts black collective aggressions away from the white oppressive society and redirects it against ourselves. These noticed subliminal messages are typically presented so gradually or so subtle that they are not consciously perceived, but they do influence our subconscious minds, our thoughts, our feelings, and behaviors. They not only make us more compliant with white dominance over our lives, they, in many cases, causes many of us to prefer white dominance over our lives. As long as we're kept within this collective condition, we can then be ruled over forever. It's the truth of our plight and condition. The truth of our plight and condition are directly connected to our oppressors' monopoly over what we believe. Through their monopoly over the contents that are fed into our minds, white oppressive forces have socialized black people. Socialized is when the oppressors exploit their monopoly over the information and media images that are fed into the collective minds of the oppressed population by feeding the oppressed fraudulent propaganda that makes them think and behave in ways that are beneficial to the oppressors. White social scientists describe this nefarious practice as merely instilling a value system into the collective minds of the subordinate population that makes them adhere to the authority and existing infrastructure of the dominant culture. It's a true social science. It's how oppressors prevents the oppressed from engaging in acts of massive unified retribution against their oppressors. This is the truth of our plight and condition. Black people have been socialized to think and behave in ways that are against our own self-interest and in ways that instead serves and protects the interests of the white society. It's the true reason why many black people now are self-loathing, perceives ourselves as being our own worst enemies, and reveres and defends Caucasians in spite of a brutally horrific history of the contrary. If you don't believe that the white oppressors would exploit their monopoly over the contents that we receive to shape our collective minds in ways that garner outcomes amongst us that benefits themselves, you are extremely naive. For to do so is totally consistent with the type of narcissistic, corrupt people they've always been throughout history. It's totally consistent with the way they've always treated us throughout history. The white society, the truth of our plight and condition, are directly connected to the white oppressors' monopoly over what we believe. They've transformed this fact into their greatest weapon used against us. They keep us believing in falsehoods that keeps us mentally enslaved, and those black people who don't critically think never notices their mental change. Those of us who are telling you the truth are trying to free you from a mental prison that you don't even know you're trapped within. Those who are trying to keep you believing in a Willie Lynch and the Bible are in fact trying to keep you mentally enslaved. It's time to wake up and learn the truth. One love and peace.